morning, everyone. This is Katie Friedman from Unitrends. I'd like to welcome you to our live session, Beauty in the Backup. Are you spending too much time on backup? Before we begin our session today, I did want to give you a few housekeeping notes. As you may have already noticed, we do have all attendees in listen-only mode. With that in mind, we do welcome your questions throughout today's presentation. However, we do ask that you utilize the Q&A functionality from the WebEx toolkit, which you will find by selecting the icon with a question mark from the drop-down menu near the middle top of your screen if you have that view, or from the upper right-hand corner of your screen if you have that view. Please make sure to address all questions to all panelists so that we can answer your questions as quickly as possible. With those details taken care of, I did want to go ahead and introduce our presenter for today. Today we have Mike DeMeglio, who is our Director of Product Marketing here at Unitrends. Mike?
Thanks, Katie. Really appreciate that. Welcome, everybody. I really know that everybody's time is super valuable, so I appreciate your attendance today, and I'm really pretty confident that you're going to learn something that will really change your thoughts and your approach to one of IT's critical functions today, and that's backup and recovery, but from a different perspective than what you may have seen from other presentations. Today I'm going to spend some time reviewing and defining user experience, a concept that you'll really see significantly change how you approach data protection in general. I'll share the difference between what we know as a user interface and what user experience is, and how this can reduce your cost and improve efficiency, why the user experience and usability is changing our industry, and then I'll introduce you to Unitrends Backup 9.0 that will really, you'll see how this will affect the change. So today it's hard to imagine a world without the simplicity of the iPad, right? We all use them, or our iPhones, or your version of the Samsung, or what have you, right? I mean, just a short few years ago, the clocks on our VCRs, at least mine, right, was set to an onset time. It was blinking all the time, reminding us of the encroaching complexity of modern technology, not only in our homes, but in our lives in general. Today, that landscape has really shifted, as we all know, and shifted quickly. And we all have to really change with that landscape. And it may seem that we've mastered the technological game, that we understand how to produce drop-dead simple products that are tame, that contain the chaos of technological advancement. But as the market continues to demand at a much faster pace, products that are simple to understand and use, robust in technical capability, and most importantly, delightful for us all to engage with, existing legacy products that we're using today just don't deliver any longer. And as functional expectations continue to rise at that high, fast pace that I just spoke about, frankly, our industry, the backup and recovery, data protection recovery industry, it's been hard enough to deliver a useful product, much less one that's easy to use, technologically advanced, and one that all of our users will love. So today what we're seeing is this consumer user experience really becoming the new standard, and you'll see that throughout today's presentation. So the world is changing. Human-centered user experience has really risen to an antidote, to be really the antidote to solve complex, hard-to-use technological products of yesterday. So the purpose of a good user experience is to deliver a user-centric, task-based interface with simple dashboards that can significantly reduce management overhead while catering to user needs to perform your assigned function, that user need that's your assigned function. The challenge, however, is that the user experience is not just about an appealing industrial design or a multi-touch process or a bunch of fancy interfaces like we saw on the iPhone, right? The phone, I'll call it an iPhone. There was a lot that went behind that. It looks like, you know, a fancy interface, but there's a lot of technology that goes into that. So 3 clicks instead of 10, 2 steps instead of 5, white space, intuitive icons, drag and drop, and on, just doesn't work any longer. As we've all really experienced, every consumer product, all the consumer products that we use, their user experience has undergone a real renaissance over the last decade, and we see it in the products that we use, right? Our VCRs aren't blinking anymore. Mine might be, but most people's aren't blinking anymore, and our iPhones have real technology built into them, our iPads and so forth. However, enterprise software, including backup and recovery, has really stagnated, and it's stagnated with the design sensibility of the dial-up telephones of the past. So usability is much less about beauty, and it's never really been a priority for backup and recovery software. All that's mattered in the past has really been that large and complex applications, usually diverse independent solutions from multiple vendors, just work, right? We get them to work, and that's a good thing, even though they may be really hard to use and complex and multiple different interfaces. So what was the point of tweaking, integrating, and beautifying the experience when providing improved functionality was really challenging enough for our industry? And we all kind of had the attitude, doesn't every solution include some frustrating user interface? Until now, things are really changing today. So briefly, let's take a look at user interface and user experience. I mean, what does it all mean, right? The real point here is, as I've said just briefly here, that it's about meeting the needs of the user, helping the user achieve their task in a more simplistic, more efficient manner. So quality time versus endless clicking is really the difference between admiring a clean, compelling, beautiful design and actually using it to get our jobs done. Rightfully, users aren't impressed with a design that looks good, but they still have to click 12 times or scan through a bunch of multiple screens just to complete a simple task. So a user interface is defined as how the product looks and how appealing that interface is, how functional that interface is. While a user experience is about how the solution not only functions, but how the user interacts with it, how they feel about using that particular solution. So, in short, the user interface is about the look and functionality, really the technical aspects of the interface itself, and the user experience is about efficiency and satisfaction, the emotion of the interface and the product. However, the user interface or user experience is really more about than just making user interfaces sexy, easier to use, more comprehensive, or making IT users happy, right? Clearly, we want to make IT users happy, but it truly is more about than just that. It's ultimately about reducing operational cost and enabling IT users to work more efficiently. So an efficient user experience really needs to have these 3 components. It needs to reduce correction cost, and that's an intuitive dashboard screens or are intuitive dashboard screens that result in fewer input errors and ultimately in significantly improved data quality, reducing the operational and management overhead of the overall system. It needs to reduce training costs by, again, providing simpler dashboard screens that are easier to use and result in significantly reduced training costs. And these costs can be drastically lowered when multiple applications, things like backup and archive and backup copy and replication and integration to the cloud and storage and so on, are all integrated into a single management view, especially one that's very intuitive and easy to use and learn. So the cost of managing these complex end-to-end solutions becomes significantly less. And lastly, it reduces support costs. It needs to reduce support costs. And again, these simpler and tailored dashboard screens can result in significantly less IT-driven or user-driven support calls or messaging to the support centers. And further, if you build in community forums, they can provide things like self-servicing and troubleshooting by giving access to different peers and vendor support without even having to ever exit the original dashboard screen itself. So there's not only significant efficiency, but there's significant cost to the organization that's affected by a really solid, good user experience built around an efficient user interface. So from the user's perspective itself, the user experience is about answering the why. You know, why do these things exist? Why is a button on the screen here? How does it work? And so forth. It's really important because it can be the difference between performing a task accurately and completely or not completing it at all, and frankly, the difference between enjoying that process as much as we can enjoy interacting with any screen, right, or just being flat out frustrated with the layout and the use and not being able to find things. And I know everybody's experienced that. I certainly have. And from a management point of view, software with poor user experience and usability can reduce the productivity of the IT staff to a level of performance that is really worse than not having the solution at all, and that becomes the ultimate in frustration. That costs time and effort and can even have an impact on the success or failure of the organization itself. So, you know, while we think this is all about pretty screens, it really boils down to a lot more than that. It boils down to the success of being able to functionally do what we need to do as users and as organizations. So, fairly complex slide here, and you know, I'm not going to detail all of it by any means, right? But why is all this important to backup and recovery, and how does this help answer the original question that we started this presentation with? Are you spending too much time on backup? And it really is about, in our ever-growing digitally dependent world, information rules, right? I mean, it's all about information above everything else. Efficiently managing that data, the data that we create, safeguarding it, locating it quickly, and determining how best we can exploit it for our business, for the operation of our business itself, is vital to the success of our organization. And because data is the crucial ingredient of that overall process, our organizations, our companies can't do without it. right? So managing the data through its entire life cycle is a key factor to recovery, business continuity, and compliance. And what you see here is really in today's data centers, you know, the typical environment is that for virtual, physical, mission-critical applications, cloud, compliance, you know, archive, storage, whatever, we have multiple different operations, different solutions, different interfaces that now we have to learn each one of these and bounce between them. They don't operate together, and on and on and on, right? So the complexity goes up significantly. And the user experience of backup and recovery is really not about these individual features, right? The feature of managing virtual, managing physical or storage or what have you. It's ultimately about workflow, how the workflow flows across the life cycle of that data. So IT users today are really, they're doing things like scheduling and adding instances and monitoring, troubleshooting, replicating, you know, coordinating archive copies, you know, creating and monitoring DR policies across literally thousands of machines, instances, and various different applications. And it's typically, as I show here, in an assorted complex virtual and physical environment, and typically across multiple different interfaces. So when these critical activities are spread across these diverse independent backup and recovery solutions from multiple vendors with different user interfaces, each one, as I alluded, is complex and difficult to learn, IT organizations, our companies, are failing to achieve what is their main goal: managing, protecting, accessing that data, their corporate data, and ensuring that their businesses can continue, especially in an environment where our data is growing at a velocity that quite frankly is difficult for us to really keep up with. You guys as IT users and managers is very difficult to keep pace with the growth and the velocity of data today. So it really predicates that we move towards a end-to-end data protection solution that covers all that. And what this causes is just a continued frustration for the end user and forces them to have to work extended hours and weekends or be at the beck and call of their organization to resolve these ongoing issues at all hours of the day or night. And not to mention, of course, the cost, complexity, and loss of business for our companies and our organizations themselves. So, you know, kind of just a little funny cartoon to that, but in reality, it's I think what we all face on a daily basis. So everyone, I believe here, really understands and knows the expression quality time. We long to spend time with our families and friends, engrossed in a hobby, or just frankly watching a movie, to having some downtime. I mean, I know I enjoy those things. And the goal of simplifying the user experience is to create quality time for people at work and in life. That's really what it's all about. That's, you know, when you boil the ocean. And our goal is to help organizations move from time at work, which can be hard labor and tedious at times, to quality time at work. I mean, and what do I mean by that? Work really should be more than just completing tasks, right? I mean, I think that's all of our goals, is to have enjoyment, to want to go to work in the morning and get real satisfaction from that work. Real work is not about installing printer drivers, uploading documents, running software updates, or quite frankly, doing backups for that matter, right? Real work of an organization is really about teaching the child, healing the patient, or building a house, and I can go on and on and on through all of the different types of work that we do. So Unitrends' goal in this product was to design a quality user experience as part of our Unitrends Backup 9.0 that would help to create quality time for our IT users, not only at work so that they could focus on the real work of our companies, of our organizations, but their own quality time, so that you have more time with your family to do the things that we enjoy outside of our work environment, and we want to help you find some of that quality time. So if you look at the typical data center, again, I'm not going to go through this slide in any detail. The real dynamic applications within each of our data centers is driving the growth that we have today, and it's driving it across multiple operating systems and platforms, virtual, physical, and others. And it's making what was the traditional static set it and forget it backup and recovery approaches very ineffective. We can't live in that environment any longer. And these dynamics and challenges include things like an always-on 24/7 operation that threatens to obsolete the concept of backup windows, scheduled maintenance downtimes, and so forth. The increased adoption of cloud and virtualization, which I know that we're all focused on, that's creating the unintended data silos that I showed in a previous slide, and the additional IT management complexity that goes along with it. And the existing traditional solutions that we have today that are just often too rigid, complex, and expensive to handle the demands of a modern data center, or they don't offer that single pane of glass that I spoke of that's fully integrated, or one that can handle today's end-to-end data protection and recovery across multiple types of platforms, operating systems, applications, the cloud, retention for complexity, and disaster recovery for business continuity. So Unitrends provides an integrated cloud-empowered data protection and recovery portfolio that addresses all of these concerns that I just spoke about. I'm not going to go into the technical overview today or the functional details of that end-to-end solution. And I really encourage you to join me on December 8th, the second part of this webinar series, when I'll discuss these issues, and especially in light of recovery assurance, which is becoming a more and more important factor in our lives. I'll discuss those technical aspects, the functions, recovery assurance, in a lot more detail. Today, I really want to spend the remainder of our time sharing how Unitrends Backup 9 provides you as an IT user or as an IT manager that intuitive user experience that includes the interactive dashboards that allow you to have access to hundreds of key performance indicators that are related to backup and recovery operations. An experience that allows you to immediately identify inefficiencies within the backup operations themselves, discover unbalanced use of backup resources as an example, or uncover failures before they are exposed in the recovery process, which is typically where we always find that our backups don't work, right? I have a real quick story of a parish in Louisiana that was backing up their mortgage in title insurance policies, and they thought that they were backing these up, and actually that they were replicating them to a cloud for a disaster recovery as a service. Well, two of their key servers within their data center failed simultaneously, and they lost over 100,000 of these title policies. So now within their parish, people didn't have any way to prove that they own their home or their property or what have you. And it turned out, because they didn't realize it until they went to recover these policies, that they weren't backing them up all along. They weren't backing them up, and their compliance was only 30 days, so they were deleting the ones that were there. They had a mess on their hands. So it really is about uncovering those failures before the recovery process. That's not the time that you want to find out about it. And I'll share more of that detail in the next presentation. So Unitrends Backup 9.0 includes a totally redesigned user interface and user experience that significantly reduces management overhead and allows you, the users, to very easily perform sophisticated functions in much fewer steps, as it says here, 50 to 60+% fewer steps, to get real-time views of the entire end-to-end infrastructure, no matter what that involves, whether it's virtual or physical, your storage, your applications, your cloud environment, whether it be public or private cloud, your secondary site, and so forth, all integrated into a single view, so you can get a quick look at what's working and what's not working, including real-time visualization into valuable key performance and protection criteria of that backup. And I'll show you some of this and what it looks like, including things like backup copy. And what the industry is now calling backup copy was archive. Replication and archive is incorporated into that term backup copy. It's becoming a fairly standard in the industry today. So when I use the term backup copy, I'm really talking about the process of replicating that data and archiving it either to tape or rotational media, the public cloud, the Unitrends cloud, your secondary site. I mean, a number of different types of media is all incorporated into that term backup copy. So over the next few slides, I'll detail some screenshots showing what this all looks like and how it works. And you know, I think you'll really get a concept and a feel for how these integrated dashboards will significantly reduce time and give you a quick look and a really easy way to manage your entire process. So it starts at the top level, and this is what we call our information dashboard. And what this provides is a real-time view of literally all your assets in your environment. Again, whether they're virtual or physical, whether they're local or remote, whether it's the cloud, whether it's some other archive media like tape or so forth, it's all incorporated into this single view as you can see here. It provides performance, job status, as well as a full view of all the backup and backup copy storage capability and capacity that you have in your environment. So you can very quickly get a view of, am I running out of storage capacity, whether it's local in your data center, one of your remote sites, whether you need to have the dynamic agile capability of the cloud that can just dynamically grow. And for more detail, you can literally single click on any one of these tiles, like the average backup speed or total size or what have you here, just a single click, and drill into that tile for a lot more detailed information and links to additional reports. So instead of scrolling through a lot of screens and hitting, drop-down menus and the things that we used to do in the past, it's just a single click and boom, you're there. So the main navigational menu that you see on the left-hand side that's titled Dashboard, Protect, Recover Jobs, Reports, and so forth is always displayed on every dashboard, as you'll see as I go through this presentation. And what that does is it allows really easy mobility between different types of dashboards. So you could be creating a job, and in that same job screen, just click over and look at a recovery task that's going on at the same time and get a quick view of that to make sure that it's still operational, that you haven't had some type of error or some type of dysfunction or disruption that's occurred in your recovery. So it's really easy to bounce back and forth and get that quick visualization of that full end-to-end protection of your entire environment and the metrics, recovery metrics and things like real-time reporting and so forth, all from this dashboard view, whether it be the top level or any level that's below it. In addition, this view incorporates a community forum tile that's included in the top view dashboard, so you can quickly go back to it again from any other dashboard because that main navigation dashboard is on the left-hand side of the screen. And here you can click to post questions in the community, get quick answers from other peers or from Unitrends support, and search articles and other resources within the forum itself, again, without having to ever leave the screen that you were on. If you recall, just quickly going back to that previous slide, the community forum is right there on the right-hand side of that top dashboard. So it's always available. It's always easy to get back to. So if you have a question or you need a support or you want to talk to a peer, boom, it's right there without having to ever bounce out and go to, Twitter or to, to some other means or your email or having to go through multiple screens to get the support that you need. So all of these tiles that we've shown on these dashboards are customizable. So you can set it up to view whatever is critical to your particular organization itself. They can be hidden or displayed to enhance user performance and improve your productivity. So it's not a fixed dashboard. It's very, very dynamic. And they can include a list of active jobs that are running across your entire company, both locally in the data center and in the cloud. And the active job title itself includes a progress bar that you can kind of see in the middle of the screen. It has a little green color to it that shows the percent of that particular job or function. We have both an active job at the bottom of the screen in the blue color and storage capacity in the middle in a green color that shows how much of your capacity is being used in real time, how far along you've progressed in the active jobs that you have running. And this can include multiple applications running across multiple platforms, whether they be virtual or physical, or whether you happen to be copying a job to the cloud, or whether you're spinning up an application in the cloud because you happen to be one of these Louisiana parishes that lost 2 of your servers, and now you need to spin them up very quickly in the cloud so you don't lose people's title policies and so forth. That all can be managed and occur in this single screen. So the Protect dashboard, and this looks a little bit more complex, and it's mainly because I've put a couple of call-outs on it so that you can see it better. But the Protect dashboard quickly identifies any risk or problems that you may be having in those assets that you're protecting. And again, those are all of the clients that happen to be in your environment, whatever the operating system happens to be, whatever the application happens to be, whatever the storage mechanism happens to be, those are the assets that you're protecting and that you can visually see very, very quickly in this screen. And it displays status information about individual physical and virtual machines, as well as reporting job status and failure in real time. So you can see in a quick view in real time what's going on. And what that does is it gives you as an IT user the power to quickly identify if you have any risk, right? And that may exist across your company's entire infrastructure, whether it's local, remote, or in the cloud. And unlike static reporting tools that we all typically are familiar with today, what the 9.0 version provides is an inventory tree of all your configured physical and virtual environments that are available for protection. And that's what you see on the left-hand side. And each client environment is displayed as a top-level parent node with the virtual machines and applications and other objects displayed as child nodes. So your parent node is on the left-hand side right next to the dashboard navigation that's on the further left-hand side. The child nodes come next. So when you click on, as I've shown here in the inventory tree, the first local host, all the child nodes of the virtual machines, applications, and other objects that are incorporated in that are going to quickly come up in the next screen. So again, it's a single view of that you as an IT user can see and have the status over time of all the backup and backup copies that were done for those particular parent and child nodes. And those are displayed, as you see, in the green dots on the right-hand side of the machine. So those are the backup copies, and again, that's a replication and archive. Status columns, and then you can drill into those as well. And with a single click, on each of those status days, the box that's popped up on the furthest right-hand side of the screen is a status detail dialog box that opens up and includes a roll-up of all the jobs on that particular day and whether they were successful, whether there was an error or a warning or what have you. And then when that details dialog box is clicked itself, it'll jump to the log page to show you what was going on within that particular log. So if you look here, you can see on Friday, April 8th, that there was a copy job, an NFS copy job that was successful, and a copy to the public cloud, Amazon S3, that was also successful. But if we hit the details, we can drill into the logs themselves. In the event that there was a warning or a failure or what have you, can quickly just pop back over there and then pop back. So with that level of detail, no matter what the issue that arises, it can be isolated to a specific point in the backup infrastructure, wherever that happens to be within your infrastructure, whether it's logical or whether it's physical. And then once it's isolated, you can trace that problem right down to the root cause, quickly resolving literally any issue and immediately scheduling a job to ensure that that protection and recoverability will occur in the event that job stopped for whatever reason. So this capability really easily resolves conflicts and systematic issues that in the past, with our static displays, that we didn't get this real-time update, would really cause pretty catastrophic and expensive failures because, again, we wouldn't find them unless we happen to be digging into a log or until we attempted some level of recovery. So the next dashboard, as we're moving down, you can see again on the left-hand side, we're moving through the navigation dashboards. We looked at the protection dashboard. We're going to take a quick look at recovery, the recovery dashboard, the ability to instantly and quickly recover data, which is key, right? We're in this always-on 24-hour environment. That always-on nature that most of our organizations have has really stretched the boundaries of our typical data centers, and it's put strains on our operations layer. So businesses now are really expected to operate 24/7. That's the IT experience that all we have as users of IT services expect, right? If it's an e-commerce site or it's a website or whatever, we expect that thing to be there and always be there no matter what the circumstance happens to be. And that really challenges you as an IT team, no matter how big or small you happen to be. And the gating factor to fast recovery and continued operation is achieving the shortest possible recovery time objective, right? We need to get that data, that system, that title server, right, in the Louisiana parish back online as quickly as we possibly can. And it doesn't matter whether it's recovering a single file, a virtual machine, a full server, or whether it's your entire data center. Recovery time is weighted on the amount of time it takes to retrieve the latest data set. Again, whether it's local or remote from a secondary site or whether it's the cloud and spinning up within the cloud itself, finding that correct data set is often one of the most time-consuming parts of restoring data. I think most people on the phone will probably agree with that, right? It's associating the RTO, the recovery time objective, with the recovery point objective, which is the latest set of data, and getting that application back up and operational. So with 9.0 here, with Unitrends Backup 9.0, recovery is easily managed through this recovery dashboard. It uses global search and filtering, which you see on the right-hand side of the screen. That's kind of the boxes on the right-hand side of the screen. It allows you to create interactive backup catalogs, and that's what's being shown here on the center part of the screen. You can see kind of, it's hard, maybe a little hard to see, but you can see it's backup catalog that's listed on the top. And that's these interactive catalogs that are used for fast retrieval of backups and backups, whether they're local, Unitrends physical or virtual appliances, and include backup copies. And those are those archives, those compliance retention archives, and cloud backups and cloud spin-up are also all included in this particular inventory. So whether it's instant recovery, and that's instant recovery of Windows, VMware, or Hyper-V, they're all quickly retrieved from this single interactive recovery dashboard view, which, again, is all about reducing time and complexity and overhead that's required to recover data anytime and anywhere, which is the 24/7 operation that we happen to be involved in today. So as we roll through here, job dashboards are all about creating, scheduling, and monitoring jobs. Again, we're rolling through the dashboards on the left-hand side of the screen. And data today is really everywhere, right? We talked about fast-growing data and that we no longer can confine that data to the physical boundaries of a data center. And while virtualization and the cloud help us address agility and the distributed base of our users, and it helps shrink IT budgets that we struggle with every day, they're one of the leading causes of our extreme data growth. And they further dilute the idea of traditional data center boundaries and add to the complexity of data management, data center management, and data protection. So today we need to create these jobs and monitor these jobs no matter where they happen to be located in the cloud, whether it's a virtualized job, a physical job, or whether it's in the data center or at a remote site. So throughout the life cycle of our data, information now exists in various forms and statuses. It's at a point of creation, or during it's in a point of utilization, and in its final phase, it's in a point of retention or deletion, retention for compliance and regulatory requirements, or deletion. So it resides in these multiple locations with users that are both local and remote, and spread across an organization that has all different types of forms of media, right? Whether it be tape or rotational media, cloud or NAS or SAN, storage, and so forth. So for most of us in the IT world, it's becoming increasingly time-consuming to protect all of these different data types, whether they be physical windows or multiple hypervisors, VMware and Hyper-V and Xen Server, or across multiple locations. To address all of these growing demands, combined with the requirements to retain data for longer periods of time to meet regulatory and compliance requirements, really requires improved tools for backup across a diverse environment. And that's what these job dashboards do, right? It centralizes scheduling, management, and monitoring into single jobs, into a single job dashboard, and it eliminates the need for multiple backup tools across physical and virtual environments or cloud environments, as well as multiple tools for long-term retention, or as I said, copy to the cloud, or for disaster recovery management, spinning up applications within the cloud itself. So the job tile here, or the dashboard, consolidates all of these tasks of creating, scheduling jobs across multiple assets and monitoring active jobs, again, into a single view so that you can very quickly see what jobs have been created, what their schedules are, and you can monitor those jobs in real time. So lastly, as we look through some of these screens and through the dashboard, the mobility, again, on the right-hand side, I'm kind of stepping through the high end of this process. And again, you can very quickly drill into any one of these jobs or protection assets, recovery mechanisms, and get significantly more detail, as I showed you on the protection screen. I don't want to go through hours of showing you all that, and we'll be happy to do that in a demo. But I wanted to give you kind of a feel for the usability and the experience that you can have in having a consolidated, integrated set of dashboards that are easy to use to protect your entire environment, no matter what happens to be in that particular environment. So lastly, as we drill into the reports dashboard, this is an integrated, intuitive dashboard that, again, allows you as an IT manager or user to create flexible and customized virtualizations. And I'll call them virtualizations because they're more than just data reports. These reports can be scheduled and shared with any of your key stakeholders, your senior executives, or any other IT staff for cross-functional collaboration, as an example. And they can be shared in Excel format and PDF format and so forth, so they can not only be shared, but they can be integrated into other tools. So in addition, these reports, as I said, can be exported into all types of formats so that they can be ingested into business and analytics, billing systems, regulatory reports, data center health, and so forth. So you can export these and incorporate them into your other management subsystems that you happen to have in your data centers. And each can be, as I said, customized to reflect a specific time range. So if you want to look at the last 60 days or 30 days or just last week, you can very, very quickly do that and create a report. And look at each of your infrastructure, so you can customize a report very quickly for your specific infrastructure to reflect the key information that you want to show. And there's a lengthy list of subcategories for each of these major reports that are shown here: backup recover, backup copy, appliance, and storage reports. There's a whole list of subcategory reports that can be created that drill into a lot more detail. And that list is included in the white paper that accompanies this webinar. So if you look at the white paper, you'll get a significant more detail on the reporting, and as well as the other dashboards that I've talked about. So quickly, as we wrap up here, this is just a view of protection, and it's an example of protection summary report. And what this report provides is a really quick view of protection and protected and unprotected assets, local and in the cloud, and across a specific date range. So the key benefit here of this particular report is, again, it gives you a quick visual overview of the organization's risk, right? You can take a look at your company's risk and see it visually. So as an IT user or as a senior manager, you can quickly assess the protection and the risk across your global infrastructure, no matter where it happens to be, whether it's your data center, your cloud, or any of the remote offices. This is an example of a storage utilization report, a really important report, particularly as our data is just growing at an extreme rate. And this gives you real-time trending of how your backup storage or your backup copy, your cloud or your tape or whatever the backup copy happens to be, is being utilized and how it's growing over time. So these growth statistics can be helpful when managing disk space across whatever your backup target happens to be. So quickly, in wrapping up here, in summary of Unitrends Backup 9 and the user experience, it reflects a significant reduction in time to complete tasks, which is critical, as we talked about in the beginning of the presentation, in reducing operational cost and enabling you as an IT user or manager to work more efficiently. It provides that combined real-time visualization, feedback, and transactions together with what really is a radically simple user experience, so that you don't have to spend an inordinate amount of time in training and learning or going across multiple different interfaces. So business users get a real insight into the data from anywhere in real time with a high level of granularity. And what that does is it allows you to plan, to execute, to predict, to simulate, and to ultimately provide informed decisions that can make your job more efficient and have a significant impact on business. And that's really all about. So in the last couple minutes here, before we go to Q&A, I just want to take, for those that aren't familiar with Unitrends, and I'll go through this rather quickly, You'll get a copy of the slides so you can look at it in more detail. Just want to give you kind of a flavor for who our company is. And again, not from a technological aspect. I'll do that on December 8th. But Unitrends is a company that's been in business since 1989. We're a leader in the industry. We've been in the industry for a long time, so we really understand the technology, not only where it's been, but where it's going. So we have a history, and that's good. We're headquartered in Boston, of offices around the world, approximately 14,000 plus and growing customers, and we sell through partners, and we have over 8,000 partners worldwide. We talked about the cloud. We provide not only public cloud assets, but the Unitrends cloud as well. And this is not only our storage, but our disaster recovery and recovery assurance cloud, allowing you to spin up within the cloud itself Windows, VMware, and Hyper-V applications and assets in the cloud so that you can continue to recover and operate within the cloud in the event that you have either planned downtime or a catastrophic failure or disruption within your organization itself. And we have clouds in 5 countries around the world and manage well over 10 petabytes of data today, and that's growing at a rapid rate. I want to introduce you real quickly to Unitrends Free. If you're not familiar with Unitrends, try this out. And again, you'll get the slides so you can look at it in some detail. But this is not just a trial copy. I mean, it's a free copy that allows you to manage an unlimited amount of virtual assets and do full file instant recovery, incremental forever, manage up to a terabyte or a terabyte and a half of storage. In this environment, it's unlimited retention, unlimited sockets, unlimited virtual machines. So it's truly free, and it'll give you a real feel not only for the environment that we talked about, our interface, but how the product functions technically and interactively. I'd like to invite you to learn more about our Unitrends Backup 9.0. We have an amazing contest going on right now where you can win up to $1,500. So I certainly encourage you to do that. And lastly, I encourage you to take 15 minutes. We'll give you a $50 card to take 15 minutes and talk about, just call one of our experts and learn not only more about how we can solve some of the issues that you have, but talk about some of the ongoing things that are that are ongoing in the industry. With that, Katie, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right, folks, we have quite a few questions today, and once we're done with answering as many of those as we can, then we'll announce the winner of today's gift card. So hold on just a few moments for that. Our first question today is coming in from James, and James says, is there a trial version?
Well, absolutely. If you go back to, and I'm going to pop back here real quickly to the slide that shows the overall slide, you can go on to Unitrends under products, and under the product itself, you'll find UEB, Unitrends Enterprise Backup. You can get a free trial copy and download it from there as a full trial, or you can use our Unitrends Free, which is the same product for virtual only. Now, it won't support both virtual and physical assets, so there's some limitations in that regard, but it provides cloud assets and provides virtual support for both VMware and Hyper-V. Or you can try the full trial version by going to under products, UEB, and there's a trial on there.
All right, our next question is coming in from John, and John says, is Unitrends' approach strictly for the enterprise, or is it also an answer for the SMB market?
Great question, John. Thank you very much for that. I kind of alluded to this big enterprise solution, right? This end-to-end solution of data centers and remote offices and so forth. That's just one of the environments. We support the whole, but we support the subset as well. So we go everywhere from the small to medium-sized business to the small to medium-sized enterprise up to the large enterprise, and we have solutions that really cover the entire gamut. Functionally, they operate very, very similarly, provide the same type of things that I've talked about. The same interface that I've talked about is definitely in all those products, but it's tuned specific to your environment, whether it's an SMB or whether it's a huge, large enterprise.
All right, coming in from Roman, is there such a thing as backup insurance?
Well, yeah, again, it kind of leads into what I'm going to talk about on December 8th, and I really encourage you to join that webinar. It's the second part of this series. What we call backup insurance is called recovery assurance, and that's the ability to recover and have an assurance that you're able to recover an application, a data, your server in the local environment, but also be able to recover those same applications and instances in the cloud itself as disaster recovery as a service, but a service that is tested on a regular basis so that you have a guarantee, you have an assurance that you're going to be able to recover that. Those assurances come along with our guaranteed SLA. There's a service level agreement that goes along with that specifies that we'll spin up your virtual machine within an hour of its disaster or less. So there are insurances in the sense of the term, but not in the sense of going out and buying a backup insurance policy that says, hey, my data is going to, I'm going to guarantee or pay for your data if you lose it, right? So there's a little difference in that terminology. But we guarantee that you can get your data back versus just being paid for it.
All right, and then this question seems to flow right into this next question coming in from Teresa. She says, if we cannot answer the attend the 12-8 presentation, can we sign up to get the recording later?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I encourage you to register. You'll be sent a link, and then you can download it at your convenience and view it at your convenience. So I encourage you to do that. There'll be a different set of information in that'll go into a lot more technical detail and go into this exciting realm of recovery assurance, being able to have that assurance that you can get your data back no matter what the instance happens to be.
And then one more question before we announce today's winner. This one is coming in from Robert, and Robert says, back to your usability slide, you showed a data center with multiple virtual, physical, application, and storage solutions. This is the environment that we have. Do you see a single solution that can manage all the platforms, applications, and storage in a data center plus cloud, public and or private?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of the lead question, right? A little setup for me, kind of the softball, right? But thank you for that. I appreciate it. Just kind of to reiterate what you saw today in Unitrends Backup 9 is exactly that complexity that was in that data center, whether it's an SMB or an SME or a major data center with remote offices in the cloud. What Unitrends 9 does is it provides that end-to-end data protection across multiple platforms and operating systems, whether they're physical, virtual, multiple applications, different, SQL, SharePoint, Exchange, Oracle, on and on, different storage types, NAS, SAN, and tape, as well as management of the cloud, but public cloud for backup and archive, as well as the Unitrends cloud for the ability to spin up disaster within that cloud in the event that you have a catastrophic failure. So it's a single solution that eliminates all those multiple solutions that we happen to be managing today. A single solution with a single interface that manages it across all that environment. Great question. Thanks.